The Unseen Witness, When Silence Becomes a Burden. Welcome, story lovers, to Narrated by Abby, where we delve into the most captivating and often chilling real-life dramas. Today, we bring you a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about justice and the heavy price of silence. This is the harrowing tale of the Unseen Witness. It was a Tuesday evening, the kind that blends seamlessly into the fabric of everyday life in the quiet suburban town of Oakhaven. Sarah Jenkins, a meticulous librarian in her late 30s, was enjoying her usual routine. A cup of chamomile tea, a well-worn copy of a classic novel, and the gentle hum of the dishwasher were her companions. Her apartment, nestled on the third floor of a modest building, overlooked a dimly lit alleyway, a shortcut many residents used to reach the main street. Around 9:45 p.m., a sudden, sharp sound pierced the tranquility. It wasn't a car backfiring or a cat fight. It was a distinct, guttural cry, followed by a muffled thud. Sarah, startled, instinctively moved towards her window. Peering through a gap in her blinds, her breath hitched. Below, in the murky shadows of the alley, a struggle was unfolding. Two figures, indistinct in the gloom, were grappling. One, larger and more aggressive, had the other pinned against the brick wall. A glint of metal caught the faint streetlight. A knife. Fear, cold and sharp, seized Sarah. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She wanted to scream, to call for help, but her voice was trapped in her throat. She watched, paralyzed, as the larger figure delivered a final, brutal blow. The smaller figure slumped to the ground, motionless. The assailant, moving with chilling efficiency, quickly rifled through the victim's pockets, grabbed something, and then vanished into the darkness as swiftly as they had appeared. The entire horrifying ordeal lasted no more than 90 seconds. Sarah remained at the window, trembling, long after the alley was empty. The silence that followed was deafening, punctuated only by the frantic beat of her own heart. She knew with a sickening certainty that she had just witnessed a murder. But who was the victim? And more terrifyingly, who was the killer? Sleep was impossible that night. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat. Every creak of the building sounded like footsteps. By morning, the alley was cordoned off with police tape. News vans descended upon Oakhaven, their presence a stark contrast to the town's usual sleepy demeanor. The victim was identified as Mark Peterson, a well-liked local bakery owner known for his warm smile and artisanal sourdough. The community was in shock. Sarah wrestled with her conscience. Should she come forward? What if the killer had seen her? What if they came back for her? The police appealed for witnesses, but Sarah hesitated. She remembered the cold efficiency of the killer, the way they had disappeared without a trace. A deep-seated fear, a primal instinct for self-preservation, held her back. She told herself that the police would find other clues, other witnesses. She was just one person, and her testimony might put her in grave danger. Days turned into weeks. The initial flurry of police activity subsided. The case went cold. Sarah read every newspaper article, watched every news report, hoping for a break, for someone else to come forward. But nothing. The image of Mark Peterson's lifeless body, the glint of the knife, haunted her waking hours and invaded her dreams. The weight of her secret grew heavier with each passing day. She started to avoid the alley, taking longer routes, even though it added minutes to her commute. The once comforting silence of her apartment now felt oppressive, filled with the unspoken. Months later, a new detective, Detective Miller, took over the cold case. He was known for his tenacity and his unconventional methods. He re-interviewed everyone, even those who had initially claimed to see nothing. Sarah received a knock on her door. Detective Miller was polite, but his eyes were sharp, probing. He asked about her routine, her view of the alley. Sarah, her voice trembling slightly, maintained her fabricated story of being asleep at the time of the murder. She felt a pang of guilt, but the fear was still too strong. Then, a breakthrough. A discarded piece of clothing found near the crime scene yielded a partial DNA match to a known local petty criminal, a man named Arthur Art Finch. Finch had a history of muggings, but never anything this violent. He was brought in for questioning. Sarah followed the news intently. Could this be it? Could justice finally be served without her having to come forward? However, the DNA evidence was circumstantial. Finch had an alibi, albeit a shaky one, and there wasn't enough to charge him. The case stalled again. Sarah felt a crushing wave of despair. She had hoped, foolishly, that someone else would carry the burden. Now she knew it was still hers. The turning point came unexpectedly. Sarah was at the local grocery store when she saw him, the man from the alley. He was older now, his face etched with more lines, but the coldness in his eyes was unmistakable. He was talking to a woman, laughing. He looked so normal, so utterly devoid of the monstrous act she had witnessed him commit. A wave of nausea washed over her. She realized, with a horrifying clarity, that Art Finch was not the killer. The man she saw was different, taller, with a distinctive scar above his left eyebrow, a detail she hadn't consciously registered in the dark. But now, in the harsh fluorescent lights of the grocery store, it was glaringly obvious. Her fear was replaced by a burning indignation. An innocent man was being wrongly suspected, and a murderer walked free, living a normal life. The weight of her silence became unbearable. She couldn't live with it anymore. She knew she had to speak up, no matter the cost. Sarah walked into the police station the next day, her hands clammy, her heart pounding. She asked to speak to Detective Miller. She confessed everything, the fear that had paralyzed her, the details she had suppressed. She described the killer, the scar, the cold efficiency. Detective Miller listened, his expression unreadable. He showed her a series of mugshots. And there he was, not Art Finch, but a man named Victor Thorne, a transient with a history of violent assaults in other towns who had recently moved to Oakhaven. The scar was there, exactly as she remembered. Thorne was apprehended. Faced with Sarah's eyewitness testimony, which was corroborated by other small details the police had gathered, he eventually confessed to Mark Peterson's murder. He had been attempting to rob Peterson, and when Peterson resisted, Thorne had panicked and stabbed him. The item he had taken was Peterson's antique pocket watch, a family heirloom. Sarah Jenkins, the unseen witness, finally found her voice. Her courage, though delayed, brought a murderer to justice and cleared an innocent man's name. But the experience left an indelible mark. She learned that sometimes the greatest burdens are not those placed upon us, but those we choose to carry in silence. Her story is a powerful reminder that truth, no matter how long it takes, always finds a way to surface. What are your thoughts on Sarah's difficult decision? Have you ever been in a situation where you knew something important but were afraid to speak up? Share your experiences and opinions respectfully in the comments below. If you found this true crime story compelling, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to Narrated by Abby for more gripping real-life dramas, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. Your support helps us bring these important stories to light. Thank you for watching.